All right, Ted Ramey, Alan Hoshida here on Morning Tide after the San Jose Sharks' late 3-2 win over New Jersey. And Alan, the Sharks, they're undefeated in 2025. They may never lose again.
Never. They're not going to. 2025, they're going to go absolutely undefeated, not only this season, but into next year as well. So, or next hockey season.
Yeah.
So, perfect.
Yeah, this is where they run the table and things change. But I guess there's a lot of storylines out of this one. Obviously, they're winning games, which helps. They are playing better hockey. Yaroslav Askarov is playing unbelievable net minding for a guy as young as he is and is relatively inexperienced. You've also got Macklin Celebrini scoring. You've got the NCAA line with Graf to Smith to Celebrini combining. Kovalenko, a new player, he keeps producing for San Jose. Where do you want to start out of this one?
I want to start with the NCAA line because I think it's really awesome that they're doing this. And obviously, you're going to give up some defensive liabilities or maybe sort of mature game. But having them all together, that is Colin Graf, Macklin Celebrini, Will Smith. They're all playing against each other last year and now combining on their first goal as a line. And if that NCAA line gets going, that'll be a fun thing. I don't know if they'll stay together the whole time, but, if Macklin's on team on that line, it's going to do pretty well. And that was a rifle.
Yes, it was. That was an incredible shot. And I just like the idea of these guys. What's the point total you had for those three last year?
184 in like 113 games or something like that.
Yeah, that's a lot where I come from. But Graf, to me, I've always liked his game since we saw him last year and then getting to call him up close and personal with the Barracuda. Yep. As I keep on saying, I see a lot of Logan Couture in his game because he's got a lot of two-way game. Will Smith, obviously. The worst thing about Will Smith at this point is that he's not Macklin Celebrini. It's constantly judged against Macklin Celebrini. Otherwise, I think he's turning into a phenomenal player. And then Macklin, who is now leading the goal-scoring chase. At least does Philadelphia play tonight? I haven't looked at the schedule, so... Let
me talk to someone. I'll get back to you.
Yeah, he's in the lead right now. So obviously, Macklin Celebrini is in that Calder conversation on a day-to-day basis and likely at the lead. I mean, those three guys, you could be looking at a future of San Jose in those three. I mean, that's the things we keep on talking about the present while talking about the future, but it's hard not to.
It could be the future top line. You never know. That is a lot of top-heavy talent. You don't know what's coming after it, but they might want to break that up at some point. I know Will Smith probably going to get a run here at center at some point. But what you do like about that line from when you're building it up is Graf and Celebrini are both puck possession guys, and then you have the guy who can snipe in Will Smith, and though Will Smith did have a great pass here. Colin Graf has looked pretty good here in the first two games and all season with the Barracuda. I think he's really taken his game to a next level, learned from those 7 that he played last year at the end of last year. And, it was a mixed bag, but it's a lot to ask for an NCAA kid to walk right into the NHL and be like, hey, go produce, buddy.
Yeah, no, it's not easy for anyone. But yeah, all three of those guys, they look like they have big futures, obviously, in the NHL. And Graf, we've seen the least of. And obviously, that's just because some, changes, injuries, all things that have been happening during the NHL season. So we get to get a look at him right now. I don't know if it's to stay. I wouldn't be, totally against it. But when I go beyond that NCAA line, I'm going to take this to Yaroslav Askarov because he just continues to be remarkable. And I'm not trying to oversell him because I've always, I don't want to put too much pressure on a young guy. And I was like a little bit hesitant with Macklin Celebrini at first. Was like, man, he's so good. And now it's like, well, okay, this is kind of just who he is. Yeah. And now we are through a handful of starts with Yaroslav Askarov when combined with what he's done to the AHL. And it's like, this feels like who he is.
Yeah, it does. And he's 22, but he also kind of carries himself or has that calm, that confidence of a guy who's a veteran, and he's given up 2 or fewer in 5 of his 7 starts here for the San Jose Sharks, and he's doing it at times where the Sharks need him to. Kind of like we talked about with Mackenzie Blackwood, is towards when Mackenzie Black was rounding into shape here, he was making big saves when the game was on the line, and you saw it specifically in this game. Head coach Warsofsky said after the game that the save that Askarov made with 3 minutes left probably changed the game because it was a 2-on-1 chance. Devils could have took that lead, but instead San Jose stays in it, and then they get the late goal. So I think that's the biggest thing when I watch a goalie is, they can make the saves. It's kind of like a shortstop. Mm-hmm. You make the plays you're supposed to make the plays. Then if you make the spectacular one, that changes games. And I think that's kind of what Askarov is doing. And I said it to you, they can't send him down. I'll say it. I don't know if you can say it, but I'll say it. They can't send him down because he gives the Sharks, at this moment with Georgiev still trying to find his game, Vitek still on the mend, super unlucky. But he's their best chance to win games night in and night out.
Yeah, and I know that Mike Grier obviously would like to get another high-level draft pick, but it would be tough to the team. It would be tough for the fans if he didn't stay up for the remainder of the year. And I'm not – listen, John McCarthy been doing great things with the Barracuda and still is, obviously, and those guys, want a chance to win as well. But when a guy performs like he's not just an NHL player but a potential all-star NHL player, I mean, his performances speak for themselves.
He's out-dueled Vasilevsky and Jacob Markstrom.
Yeah.
Two of the best, top 5, maybe the 1-2. Hellebuck's obviously in there as well, but he's outdueled them. And then against Connor McDavid, he had a great game, and it wasn't for a late goal with like 16 seconds.
Yeah, 17.3, I believe. Not that I'm still thinking about that one angry at night.
He's playing out of his mind, and it's not. And I think the guys, I asked you pregame, when do they start believing in this and feeling comfortable in front of him? I think they're ready.
No, I think they are there. I mean, I think that those guys all know how good he is. They know that he's capable of being even better. I mean, that's the thing is he's only, a small portion to his NHL career. He's still learning.
We need to bring him in and say, hey, when we play the puck, let's not go crazy here. Let's just keep it simple, man. Keep it simple.
He does get a little bit interesting out there when he just starts kind of floating out, and he's so casual to get back in. Like, there's no hustle, there's no terror, which kind of makes it even more kind of confounding because, does he just know that he has enough time to get back and get ready?
He's out there deking dudes. Maybe one day we'll be looking back here in 5-6 years and be like, oh, and he's one of the best puck handling goalies in the league. And that would be great because it is an asset.
Oh, for sure.
You get the puck out, you can stop stuff. So it is an asset for sure. It's just the way that he's gone about it here is a little troublesome.
How about the fact that we are now, 7 minutes into this interview and we haven't been talking about the guy who scored the game-winning goal, Cody Ceci. Yeah. Because that's how big these other storylines are, which, again, why now I'm getting to Cody Ceci is he was having a very quiet game. He wasn't having a bad game by any means, but I was just feeling like, man, we're not hearing his name at all. Yeah. I guess he was just quietly going about his work, so good for him. But, he comes up with that blast at the right moment, and it even takes a piece of Markstrom's glove. I mean, that's the whole idea of just put something, see what happens.
I'm telling you, when the Sharks have made it an effort to put pucks on net when they're coming from the point, we've seen good things happen. Sometimes I think with this team is they start looking for the perfect shot, and you're just not going to find the perfect shot in the NHL a whole lot. And so when your defense can contribute, like we've seen these last 2 games, they've won them both. The first game of the new year, Vlasic had a point, 3 defensemen had points. This one, you had Cody Ceci get the game winner. You need your defense to at least initiate some offense.
Yeah, no, you do. And that's for Cody Ceci to come up with that goal at that moment. It was something the Sharks had been lacking lately. Because remember November when they had all the great comebacks and great points. December was the opposite, where they would just fall short time and time again. So that was frustrating. Before I go on some other topics, what are the Sharks going to do with their power play right now, man? Because it is not the word that I have used is disjointed because there is potency within it. They will create a good look, but they're just not creating nearly enough. It feels like they're giving up too many near shorthanded goals. Obviously, we go back to that game against Vegas. They gave up 2 shorties in 23 seconds?
Yeah. They were 0 for 4 tonight.
Yeah.
One of them looked good. The third one.
Yeah.
One power play looked good. I even said to you at one point, they have 2 power play shots after 3, and you thought it was a typo.
Yeah, I was like, I don't believe that.
I don't believe it. I'm pretty sure that was accurate, and it all came on that third one. It's gotten to the point that they're playing so much better 5-on-5 that you're like, if they take a penalty, that's not good for this team right now. And that's not – you should be wanting power plays. And right now they're so disjointed, as you say. They slow it down too much, looking for the perfect shot. Again, maybe if they take some of that desperation, the Cody Ceci, fire it from the point, and then look for some rebounds. It doesn't have to be pretty.
No.
I mean, there is video evidence of what it looks like and all that, but no one's going to ask you what that goal looked like if you win games.
No, if the puck crosses the goal line, everybody's happy. It doesn't matter how it gets. I mean, Kovalenko's goal that came in. It was, it was a great pass from Eklund. He got it, but he also, handled it into his skate and then somehow got it back. And then, you look at any number of plays in the NHL, it doesn't. The end result is why it's pretty. It's because it's a goal. Yes. If you do something ugly along the way, nobody cares.
It keeps pointing to the hole that the Sharks do have in this development is that they don't at the NHL level. I think Luca Cagnoni can be this, but they're still looking for a power play quarterback. Celebrini will be that. Obviously, everything's going to run through him here. It does already, but they don't have the power play quarterback. And then the one that you do have right now, Jake Wallman's very good. I think he's more of a give it to him and let him fire away type of guy.
He's nearly going 100 miles per hour.
Yeah, he's not in the lineup. And so then you're running out there with 5 forwards, and I will go on record and say not my favorite thing in the world.
That's fair.
Not only because I don't think the good outweighs the bad, because we saw it when they had a turnover high. They're going a 2-on-1 against Granlund very quickly, and Askarov had to make a big save. Like, you're asking Granlund, who's a very good defensive forward, but that's a lot to ask of a guy who doesn't play defense all the time.
All the time. It's yours telling him, I need you to be perfect in this most critical moment.
And they're not scoring.
Yes.
So if they were scoring goals and then they had that, then that'd be one thing. But the 5-forward unit isn't. This is a tangent, so I'm going.
Go, please.
They need to play that second unit more.
I know. They're staying out there the entire time. Like sometimes it won't be till like a minute 45 gone by till you see some fresh legs out there. And I'm thinking, if you're not making it go about a minute 10, then that should be the change. That should be when you're getting new guys out there. Obviously, that's situational. Sometimes you can't make the change. But to me, if you've seen that evidence and you have the opportunity to make the change, like get new legs out there.
If your first unit's not going to get done, start with your second unit and have them go. Because usually that second unit's a little more meat and potatoes. Right? It's a little more just get it. There's not as much high-end skill. But on the second unit, I believe today was Zetterlund, Eklund. So Eklund has a lot of that skill. But still, start the second unit.
To that point, I was kind of wondering, why isn't the Lund line together on one of the power play units? Like, that's kind of something that I feel, if you're going to have those guys out there, I would rather make a change from Granlund to put him with the other 2 Lunds, just to keep those 3 together.
You could do it Lund line, and then you could put Macklin up there with. I would put Wallman. He's not there, but another.
He would be.
Tim.
No longer Timothy.
Lil Drin down back there. I think that is a good point, because then you're keeping that chemistry going. We've seen it before in the NHL where the line just stays out there. I believe Thornton, Marlowe, and Heatley were all on the same power play as well.
And we've seen it in Colorado too lately and such. So it's not unheard of. And I understand Warza wants to spread his talent around, but
then on that second unit you still have Toffoli there, and you'd have Colin Graff out there. You have Will Smith. So you still would have some talent.
Although Smith was playing, like we saw at the end of the last game, he was playing up on that first unit a bit.
Yeah, but if you're doing with the Lund line, then you still have talent as well.
Of course.
Like, I don't think it's as much of a. I think actually it might be even a little more balanced if you did that in a way.
Kovalenko scores, has a phenomenal. Like, we see a lot of these first intermission interviews. I think that may have been the best of the year.
Something about these Russian guys.
Dude, we've got the coolest Russians in the league.
Yeah, for sure. Kovalenko's bringing his best line. I'm going to use it now for the rest of my life. I'm going to take it in our shows. If you think too much, you're wrong. Think too much, you're wrong. We might as well get that. We should make shirts. There's shirts we have to make, and we'll maybe one of these episodes we'll talk about all the shirts we have to make. That might be a new shirt we have to make.
It's a great line. I also liked how he joked about it. He's like, I'm not a big guy, but I go out there and try to be physical. He was so loose. Like, that's what I love about this team right now, is that in the midst of losing 8 straight before these last 2 wins, they were still loose. They were not letting it bring them down. And that's kind of to the point of Kovalenko being comical, Askarov being just kind of like a nut in a good way. Like, he's high-fiving Sharky. He's, putting his hand up to his ear to hear the crowd. Like, this is what you want with guys. Because I feel that, like, if you bring these personalities together, they can grow together, and it almost makes them that much more dangerous together. To Drew's point that he always talks about those Giants teams of what feels like, the last World Series was 10 years ago. Yeah. And now 11, we're in 2025, I guess. But those guys were, Brian Wilson, Tim Lincecum. Those are kind of weird guys. Bumgarner was extremely serious. Yeah. Matt Cain was just, he wanted to be golfing unless he was pitching. Panda was Panda.
Yeah.
Like those
Brandon
personalities, Brandon Belt, the captain. Those personalities were allowed to be themselves.
Yeah. And you saw even last game with Vlasic during that intermission hit, as you're talking about. He also had a great interview, and maybe that's Vlasic coming back, and he has kind of a playful personality. Guys really seem to play for him and gravitated towards that. But I think to your point is a good one. Is successful teams usually let players be who they are. And whether that is a Macklin Celebrini who is a little more serious and really going to take it serious and wants to win. And that's probably the guy you want leading the pack. That's your, maybe at some point you put a letter on him. Yaroslav Askarov, smiling when they're peppering him with shot after making a big save against the best guys in the world, best teams. And then, but that's a good balance, right? You can't have everyone in your dressing room be on 100 at all times. Yeah. And Will Smith kind of feels like he's kind of in the middle there. Like he's a little more lukewarm.
And Macklin still has fun. He laughs it up with him.
Will Smith, though, also walks into the tunnel and has a viral moment.
Yes.
Like, I don't think Macklin Celebrini walking in because but that's also what you want from Macklin Celebrini. What makes him so good is that he is super locked in. But he's rock, paper, scissoring too, to your point. Like he's still having fun. But that's what you want. You want guys to be themselves. You do not want them to be someone else. That's why I don't really like the whole the Yankees thing. They make everyone shave, make everyone go to this cookie cutter thing. I was like, come on, man. This isn't like the 60s or the 70s. You got to let people do it. And on further note, for the NHL, you need guys to do that, or else you don't have anybody to market.
No, you have great stars in the league right now.
AKA the MLB.
Yes, Major League. Mike Trout could walk in this room right now, and neither of us would know who he was. We'd be like, "Hey, who's that?"
Other than his huge neck.
Yeah, huge neck, big time neck, and the lack of playoff wins. Yeah. But I shouldn't go after him. He's a good player. It's not his fault that he's an angel.
No,
but maybe
it's
it
not
is.
His fault. He didn't have to resign though.
Yeah. Okay, so what's next for San Jose? It's Vegas. They gotta. Are there demons that need to be exercised, or do we also have to take into account that on paper they're not as good as Vegas?
Well, they haven't been as good as the Devils either, or the Jets when they played up to the Jets and they came back late, or against the Capitals. On paper, they're not going to be as good as a lot of teams, so you can't walk in, and that's why games aren't played on paper, Ted. Did you know that?
Yeah, I do know that. Does Askarov go?
3 in a row.
He's got
3 in a row, 2 days off.
Yeah, plus an early game. So he's got a long Saturday recoup, Monday, Sunday.
I think I would let him go. I would let him go out there because we've seen against the best teams, that's when he's raised his game. Also, I think Georgiev could use a little pause. And we saw him, he was the only goalie, I believe, on the ice. I saw a report out there for New Year's Day, and he was working with Thomas Spears. Oh, lights are out.
My light went out, ran out of battery. Sorry.
I was doing motion, I was hoping. But I think he's a guy who's trying to figure out his game a little bit and give him some time to work on it. And, I mean, he's given up 3 goals in 2 games. Got to get him out there.
Yeah.
If he's going to be your bona fide number one, and he's a guy that you're going to lean on for maybe 50 games, 60 games in the future, let him go. It's not, and it's also not like it's his first professional season either. You know what I mean?
No, he understands what he's up against. Well, all right, Alan. 2 wins in a row, and the Sharks get a couple of days off. Not off. They'll practice Monday. Are you going to be there on Monday?
Probably not. I wish.
I will be there.
Monday's a big dad day for me.
Fair enough.
Monday's a big dad day for me.
Yeah, but I will be there. I'll get some. Anybody you want me to talk to?
Yeah, Graf would be good.
Yeah, Graf would be good.
Would be good. Yeah. Let's listen to Graf.
I'll text you. I'll be like, all right, I need to get some questions from Alan,
That's
so
right.
we can talk about the NCAA line. All right, man. Appreciate your time as always, and keep up the great work.
Here we go.